Welcome back to Jack of All Games Tabletop. I'm Dave Wallace, and we are doing another episode of 5 games. This week we're doing 5 transition games from role-playing into board gaming. A lot of us like a lot of different types of games, and some people are just really strict on, I only like this kind or that kind. Whether it be role-playing or board games or card collecting or war games, there's lots of different options to choose from, and some people just really like their own thing and have a hard time getting into other different kinds of games. So since my favorite games tend to be either role-playing or board games, I thought I'd kind of give some examples of ways you can transition from one to the other. They can actually go both ways. But so yeah, especially if you're into, say, like D&D and never really played other kinds of board games, maybe just all you can think of is Monopoly or Candyland. Well, there's a lot more options out there, and these are games that will kind of help you transition and make you feel comfortable, and maybe even just more appealing, that will kind of open your mind to the world of board games. Or, like I said, if you're a board gamer and you like these kind of games, then this might get you more into role-playing. So as always, when I do an episode of 5 games, these are just games pulled from my collection that kind of fit in that description. They are not necessarily in any order. I just kind of number them so that we can keep track of the fact that there's 5 of them. But yeah, so these games just kind of happen to fit the topic. Not necessarily my favorites or least favorites, but all of these ones today I actually pretty much enjoy. So let's get to it. This is 5 transition games from role play to board games.
Role Player, Thunderworks Games, 2016.
So yeah, first one up is Role Player. Oh, this is a big box full of expansions to it, but the core game is the main that we're talking about. Role Player, obviously one that I had to pick if you're into role playing and want to try out a board game. So when I first heard the idea about this game, I actually wasn't very interested in it. Role Player is basically just a game in which you are pulling dice from a bag, kind of a blind draw, different colored dice, and you're trying to basically build up a character. But it ended up being a lot more interesting than I thought. It is more of sort of a puzzle. Kind of think of this as like a Tetris, where you're trying to fit the right things in the right place at the right time. But in this case, you're using different colored die, and they get rolled. These are all D6s. You're using the number on the die and the color in the die to place them in specific spots at just the right time, having to go from left to right. Meaning, if you need a blue die on the third space over, you can't just put it there. You have to build up from the left and get up to there. So it's a bit of when do I take the chance next time on pulling this color and place this somewhere else? So it's a little bit of thinking. You can also, of course, earn new skills, and you get new items and stuff like that to kind of upgrade your character's abilities. And yeah, it ended up being a lot more fun than I thought it would, just from the description. Now, the expansions, I actually haven't tapped into them yet, because I like to play the core game and make sure I like that first, usually, before I start adding expansions. So I've only played this a couple times, and I am ready to add expansions. But the expansions in here will give you more options to actually, I think, fight against monsters and that sort of thing. So there's a lot that can be involved in it if you get in the expansions. But yeah, the base game, it's pretty simple, but it's actually, like I said, it's pretty fun. So yeah, check out Role Player if you like making characters. It's a good way to do it.
Set-A-Watch, Rock Manor Games, 2019.
So yeah, up next is Set-A-Watch. I have talked about this game on here a couple times before on the channel, and I really enjoy this game a lot. I really like the size of it because I can slide it in my backpack, take it to work when it's slow. I can just pop it out, and the fact that where's the edge at? Yeah, the box is also the board. Very convenient. But yeah, this is a really cool game. Like I said, talking about games like D&D, this one, especially for your combat scenarios. What's interesting about this game is basically you are controlling 4 characters, whether you play solo or 2-player, 3-player, or 4-player. 4 characters are used at a time, and you are traveling to different lands and setting up a base camp, and one person has to watch the fire and keep the camp safe and do other things that give your team bonuses, while the other 3 are available to fight a horde of monsters that always seem to attack you single file out of the darkness. And each character has different types of dice. Some use D6s, some use D8s, and it kind of works together with the type of character they are. Like wizards use D6s because of the fact that the straight dice attacks would be weaker with the wizard for a physical attack versus, say the warrior in here. He's going to use D8s. But you also have different cards for each character that make different abilities with those, and you can use any die that you have in your roll to activate one of your cards, which means you can get rid of those low numbers and use it for a powerful effect. It's really pretty interesting. A lot of cool different abilities, and you have different ways that you can swap out abilities and defeat the entire line of monsters as they're coming at you, and they have different reveals every time you flip over a card. As the monsters are coming at you, because of your camp, you have a certain amount of light that shows you how many monsters back in the row are coming at you, meaning that the end of the line you can't actually see unless you have a bright enough fire. So you're only able to kill a couple of monsters that are able to see until the fire gets brighter, or until you kill those ones and the ones behind get closer. So it's interesting because it takes a little bit of strategy to figure out which abilities you want to use, not knowing how strong the monsters in the back are as they're coming towards you. So yeah, this is always a fun game. And there's several different versions of this, and there's expansions and a big box, and very cool game. Always enjoy playing Setawatch.
Wrath of Ashardalon, Wizards of the Coast, 2011.
It only makes sense that if you're transitioning from D&D to board games, why not play a D&D game? So yeah, this is the Wrath of Ashardalon, and there's a couple of sibling games. There is The Legend of Drizzt and Castle Ravenloft. They're back there somewhere. Basically play the same way. So the way this game works, it can be single player, it can be multiplayer, but you are basically laying down tiles for your dungeon. And as you lay out new tiles, new monsters appear on different spots. And you have card abilities. Some abilities that you can do at will, and some you can only do once per day. And of course you have a D20, and you're going to add your bonus to whatever you roll to see how much damage you do, and it works pretty similar to how combat in D&D works. So definitely a fun game to play, and it has a lot of different adventures, different chapters that you can play through, and it is quite literally a dungeon, and there's a dragon and a whole bunch of other stuff. A lot of cool minis in these games. And the separate booklet that has different stories that you can go through. So yeah, I mean, if you're transitioning from actual D&D play, and especially if your favorite part of it is the combat, then this is going to give you that sense of exploration and going through the dungeons, and how you're accustomed to combat working. So these games, very cool. So yeah, Wrath of Ashardalon. Check it out.
Lords of Waterdeep, Wizards of the Coast, 2012.
So why not bring up another Dungeons & Dragons game while we're at it? Lords of Waterdeep. This one, for board game collectors, is kind of a classic. It does not play like the other games do, though, so that's why it's certainly kept secret. This is more of a traditional board game, but it's set in the Dungeons & Dragons realm. In this game, you can go to different locations and pick up anything from different cubes that represent people you hire to do different jobs. You can pick up new quests that you can do. You can earn money, and you can buy and set down property. This is a game about victory points. There's a track that goes around the whole board, and you're trying to basically get as far as you can across the 8 rounds that you play. So basically, when it comes down to it, that is what it's about. It's all about the victory points. But yeah, there's a lot of options for stuff in here, and there's some flavor on the quest cards. The quest cards essentially coming down to how many of specific cubes and sometimes gold that you have to add to your hand in order to accomplish them. So yeah, this is actually a lot of fun. Like I said, this is kind of a classic. It's an older game that doesn't really it doesn't get too boring. You can play this for years and have a good time with it. So it's still readily available. So yeah, if you want something that's definitely more board game-ish, but still set in the Dungeons and Dragons realm, check out Lords of Waterdeep.
Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion, Cephalofair Games 2020.
Yeah, I had to, of course, mention Gloomhaven. This is the Jaws of the Lion, and I bring this one up mostly because this one is easily accessible. This is a game that you can still sometimes find at Target, and for cheap. Nowadays you can get it for like 20-25 bucks. And there's a lot of game in this. And it has definitely got a D&D feel to it, even though this is not like one of the Wizards of the Coast games. Very interesting vibe to this one, because this is a game in which you use cards instead of dice for your different actions, your movement, and your attacks. Each card has a top section and a bottom section for which you can choose one option or the other. Each turn you get to choose 2 cards, and you have to use the top action of one and the bottom action of the other. So it's a little bit of card management involved in this, because at times you will have to discard. And you have different monsters that will show up with different strengths. You spend a lot of time in city sewers. And basically you have a nice little map booklet in here that works really well with the miniatures, which look really nice, but the monsters are standees, and it's really easy to swap them in and out. Sometimes there actually is an expansion book, because some of the maps are a little bit longer, and you got to open up the second book to add to it. But like I said, there's a lot of stuff in here, and keeping track of the hit points actually I think is pretty cool, as far as the little dial that they have for the enemies in here. But yeah, so like I said, this one definitely, it feels like a D&D type of game, especially seeing everything. This, of course, it's a sewer or a dungeon. I mean, yeah, so but yeah, lots of cool monsters in it, and a lot of fun. It's a campaign game, so you can actually finish one section, and then you go through your character sheet, and you can actually level up and earn points to gain new abilities and put new cards into your hand. So it's actually quite extensive for a small box, and this is a small version. I've never actually played the full Gloomhaven, so like I said, there's a lot in this, so I can only imagine how insane that is. But for something easily accessible and a lot of fun, a lot, for a D&D player to get a vibe of a cool board game, check out Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion. So there you go. There's 5 games that can help you transition from role player to board game, or help you as a board gamer go, well, maybe I would like role playing. They're different worlds, but there's a lot of crossover. Nowadays, there's even more games that can really help you connect between the two. I'd be interested in knowing what some of your favorite transition games are between role-playing and board games. So let me know. What are your favorites? What would you recommend to somebody who was into role-playing and said, hey, I'm interested in getting into a board game, but I don't know where to start? You want to make sure you get their attention and make sure they're going to actually enjoy it. Where do you start? Let me know your opinion. And that's going to be it for this week. And I will see you next time. Until then, get out there and roll some dice. Thank you once again for watching Jack of All Games Tabletop. I really appreciate the support, and if you wouldn't mind, maybe give it a little thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. Of course, I love reading your comments, and with any questions, suggestions, or corrections, feel free to leave them in the comments. Or, of course, you can always get a hold of me at jackofallgamespt@gmail.com. And if you're a game designer and you want to talk about your game on the show, I'd love to hear from you, so drop me a message. And now, I will persuade you to hit the like button with a persuasion roll. Well, turns out I have advantage on persuasion rolls. Yeah. I believe I have 1 point of inspiration left. So, yeah. Hey, check out my hot wife. Yeah, she's always distracting me. Aha, and as you can see, I have rolled a natural 20. Therefore, you are persuaded to hit the like button. And now, thanks to my power of persuasion, I know that I will see you next week.